he had the guy go to max on his first day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. I am the stronger, less annoying Alex Hormozy, JT, and I'm here with the Ryan Gosling of BJJ podcast, Joseph Worthington.
Mate, tell me more about the Alex Hormozy claim.
Well, I'm better groomed. I'm definitely stronger. Have you ever seen Alex Hormozy's legs? Never. Just putting it out there. If there is ever a fight, I'm winning that fight.
I love, though, that you picked like an influencer as your like aesthetic.
Well,
like,
he's kind
spirit
of
animal.
He's kind of jacked.
Oh, he's super jacked.
But he's super annoying. I tried to listen to him, couldn't handle it. Anyway, you probably feel the same way
He's very
about
good
me.
at business. God damn it.
Yeah, okay, make your money, shut the fuck up. Anyway, moving forward, do you want to get stronger? If you would like to get stronger, you gotta test. You got to know where you're at, and the evaluation process has to come in at semi-regular intervals so you can see how you're going. Now, currently, Joey, lead us out into strength testing.
Yeah, so we're testing at the moment with my small group, Raylene and Dilch. Shout out, my friends. Strong Humans. We're testing this week, and it's the end of an 8-week training cycle.
Very nice.
And prior to that, we had done another 8-week training cycle that was pretty similar to this one.
Okay.
So we haven't tested really we probably haven't tested some of the basic stuff like that we're doing this week for 12 months.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
So yeah, I guess the first thing is if you do strength training, it's good to test every now and again. Now, you don't have to do it because if you are tracking what you're lifting and your sort of performance in the gym, that's kind of just, that's testing all the time anyway. It's like, did I lift more than last week? Yes, I did. I'm getting stronger, right?
Feedback, yeah.
Yeah. But there is a point, I think, where you've sort of chewed on the strength training thing for a while and the gains aren't necessarily linear anymore.
No.
Right? And so you might be focusing on something in a particular training cycle, which means that maybe you've had to put one or two other things on the back burner. And those things, will probably go down a little bit, right? Because you're not working on them right now. And that's, you got to be cool with that. But testing can be really nice because it just gives you a chance to check in with stuff. And so like, as an example, you might work on back squats regularly and then you might take 6 months off back squats and you might do Zercher squats.
Yeah.
You might be following one of our programs and it's like, got you doing sandbag squats and Zercher squats. And then you're like, I want to check back in with the back squat, see where that's at, just for the sake of it, right? Just to see how did those other squat variations affect it.
Yeah.
And so, or, whatever, there's many reasons to do it. But I guess the first thing we should touch on is the frequency.
Yeah, definitely.
I know you're a fan of testing. You like to have a go more regularly, don't you?
For me, I actually test probably closer to every 4 weeks. So the way we set it up in the Bulletproof BJJ program is we have a 6-week cycle. So we generally recommend that people kind of check in around that time because the program automatically kind of increases the degree of difficulty, whether it's technical or sets and reps change a bit, etc. The reason why I check in a bit sooner is because I like to find ways to push the needle up a little bit, and I will do the 3-week thing because it's like a smaller increment of the 6 weeks, which is the larger increment of 3 months, whatever. And this is all kind of arbitrary. Like you said before, Joe, if you're keeping track of it, it gives you feedback in the meantime. But I guess if you're someone who's doing more of like, say, a hypertrophy program, they're kind of higher rep, more volume type work, you might not know what your 1RM is. You may have no idea because you haven't touched that for a while. And actually what can surprise you, and I actually found this, I did leave deadlifts alone as a primary lift for a little while, and I focused on squats. And when I came back, like actually kind of 3-4 months later, my deadlift had gone up. Even though my grip wasn't as good as it was, my leg drive had improved because of the squats. And I think that this is a thing that we kind of we underestimate. We automatically assume, it'll go away, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
So yeah, the frequency for me is more often, but I think if you are maybe a little bit less experienced, it's good to give yourself an opportunity to get exposed to the skill, adapt to the skill, and then go from there.
Yeah, and I guess, on that, if you're in your first year of strength training, I'd say don't worry about it yet.
Don't think too hard.
Yeah, but definitely once you've crossed that threshold, testing might be something you want to do. Now, I don't place a huge amount of value in it. Hence, we do it once every 12 months or 6 months. It's kind of haphazard, but it's like, oh, we just finished. So what do you guys want to do next week? You want to do some testing? And like, yeah, let's do that. So it's pretty chill. So there's a couple of guidelines though, a couple of things. Now, I guess important to say, if you're following, say you're following our SWOL program, which is a hypertrophy program, right?
Yes.
Then testing for that is probably, like your testing should be contextual to the intention of the program.
Yes.
So for that, your testing should be take some photos of yourself, do some flexes in the mirror, watch a pose routine, try to hit that shit at your next family Christmas gathering. Like, guys, how am I looking? How am I looking over here? Test your muscle mass. Like that's the thing that you're going after, right? Doesn't mean you can't test strength on a program like that, but that's not its primary intention. Whereas if you're doing Strength 101 or Standard, something like that, strength is now the goal. So, all right, let's test strength. All right. We're diving into the strength piece here. So frequency, you can kind of set that as you wish. First thing is you got to warm up appropriately.
Of course.
Now, here's the deal. We train for 90 minutes in my group. It's middle of winter at the moment, so it's really cold down here on the gym floor at 7 in the morning. Warming up appropriately looks like we take 30 minutes to just warm up, right? Bunch of like simple drills, get the body temp up, bit of activation stuff, like the same sort of thing we're normally doing. But the warm up I'm talking about is more specific to the movements you're doing. Now, on Monday, we tested the guys tested their Zercher squat.
Cool.
I didn't because my knee wasn't up for the task.
Fair.
So they tested the Zercher squat. So I actually had them do like 15 minutes of kind of explosive work, but really like low reps, high effort, lot of rest. So it was probably more like 10 minutes. We did a few broad jumps. We're doing some explosive push-ups, some explosive rows and pull-ups, stuff just to get them firing. So it's like you're switching the body on, getting the nervous system activated. Then we got into the the squats. And it was like, guys, we're probably going to spend about 30 minutes on this. So like get some sets going, nice and easy, like lubricate the joints, feel good with it, build the weight up slowly, take the rest periods. And as we get further through the session, the weights are going to be heavier and your rest periods are going to be bigger, right?
Yep.
Now that all makes sense to most folks. But today we tested the upper body and we did similar kind of thing, like let's warm up and whatnot. But what I always find with the upper body is that the muscle groups are smaller.
Yes.
They warm up quicker, but they fatigue faster.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't need like 8 warm-up sets to test your weighted pull-up.
Not at all.
So in that case, we're like, all right, get a set or two of get a set of rows, get a set of pull-ups, and then let's just start adding weight. And we'll go from like the 3-rep, 5-rep warm-up set to weighted singles pretty quickly.
Yep.
Whereas for the squats and for deadlifts, we'll really stretch that period out.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want the best gear for BJJ, you need to go to pariathletics.com. These are our guys. They support the show. George, great guy, great creator, awesome colors, awesome styles, and also the best fit. It feels great. And that's the thing. It's not just that it looks good, it feels good. And the thing that for me, I love the most is I can wear the stuff at jiu-jitsu, but then also they've got that other side, the cool side where you can wear it off the mats. And they are our exclusive partner in apparel. If you want to get bulletproof gear, you've got to go to pariathletics.com. And when you buy anything at checkout, enter bulletproof20 for 20% off. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts?
I concur, Joe. I think this is a great approach. Me personally, if I have a good idea of roughly where I am, like if you know where your top end is, say your max deadlift is 100 kilos, you have that in mind. I tend to, if I'm working with someone, I tend to warm them up closer to that. Now, in terms of what you're saying about exciting the nervous system and doing dynamic stuff, I love that. Like I mean, I already try to warm up like that. Like if I'm doing any kind of squatting work, I'll do hops and jumps and stuff like that. Or if I'm doing deadlifts, I'll be doing some single leg deadlifts to kind of overtax the nervous system and G it up for balance, and then some kettlebell swings and vertical jumps and stuff. But keeping in mind, if you know roughly where your top end is and your goal is to maybe beat it, like you're thinking, oh, have I improved? I tend to do the ramp up maybe like a couple reps in the lower weight and then gradually reduce those reps closer to if it's a 1RM or a 3RM. So what I mean by that is like, say you know that 100 kilos is your top deadlift and you're thinking, oh, I might pull 105 today or 110 or whatever it is. That when you are just putting 40 kilos on the bar, you might do 5 reps as a warm-up and then do your ramp up. And depending on how energetic you feel and how good you feel on the day, you would do slightly less reps than you would normally do. So you don't fatigue in the warm-up. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
People,
You don't need to be doing like 8 reps in your warm-up sets.
No way. If your intention is to just do 1 good rep or 2 or 3 good reps, try to keep your rep range around there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like the first set, maybe 8, just to get a bit of pump.
Yep.
And then and then trim it right back.
Yeah, definitely.
And I would say for beginners, probably where they mess up with this, like beginners to the testing thing, is they would not warm up enough.
Yeah.
But then I would say some people, maybe more advanced folks, can warm up too much. So there's a sweet spot there, isn't there?
There is for sure a sweet spot. For me personally, it's anywhere from like 3 to 5 kind of ramp up sets. Honestly, like if I'm working to a max, I check in with my body, do my warm up, and then I'm just like one set.
Game time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to get, and make sure I'm excited enough.
Now, repetitions.
Yes.
The 1RM is often held as the pinnacle. Yeah, 1RM's great. We tested 1RMs today, right?
Oh, cool.
You single heaviest.
Exciting.
Well, it's kind of nice, right? It's definitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
But sometimes like a 2 or a 3 or, whatever. I like 2 or 3. Repetition set is more appropriate.
Yeah.
Now, I would say if you are newer to this thing, I think that maybe 2 or 3 reps is more appropriate because you're still maxing out. You're just not doing it under 1 repetition where there is more potential to fuck yourself up.
100%.
Especially for an exercise like a back squat where you're getting under the bar. Now, it's to that conversation I had with old mate at the gym, in a previous episode.
Yeah.
I don't think, back squatting is dangerous, like when you're maxing it out, right?
Sure.
Deadlifting, not so much because you can just let the bar go.
No.
You can wreck yourself, but there's not going to be a crushing injury.
Oh, yeah, there's a herniating disc though. Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, look, I think risk,
There's a risk associated with every test.
yeah, especially if you're trying to find it, look for your limit, you're probably going to find it.
Yeah.
There's that.
But there's this, for me, something about getting under a bar, right? And I think so if you're feeling like, fuck, I don't know if I want to push my back squat to that point, then do 3 reps, or you could even do 5 reps and max that out. And then you can use an online calculator to figure out what your 1RM would be.
Yeah, I think 3RM is the safest because if we just very roughly speaking, we're speaking very roughly, so don't hang me out to dry on this one, folks. Your 3RM is more or less your 90 to 95% of your 1RM, right?
Right.
And that you might do 3 and go, oh man, I could have done a bit more. But that's actually good. That's actually kind of safe in terms of not risking a problem. Because the difficulty with a 1RM, and especially when it comes to a squat, you might feel good on the way down, but trying to come back up, that's a totally different story. So
you could be on someone's fail video.
That could be you.
Yeah.
That could be you. Jim.com. So definitely, whenever I'm trying to give advice to anyone and I can't be there to spot them, I say just stick with the 3RM because that will give you a rough guess. So if you can do 3 reps with 100 kilos on your back for a squat, you could know that your max squat is probably 110-ish. And it's good just to ballpark that. And then you just, and as you gradually get your 3RM stronger, your 1RM is going to be right up there.
Now, in terms of movements to test, you can go wherever you want with this.
Sure.
Obviously, keep it kind of relevant to what you're training. So we will test, if we're working on a specific movement in a program, let's say we're doing Cossack squats. Right? We'll test something like that from time to time. But Cossack squats don't come up every 6 months as, hey, let's test the Cossack squat.
Sure.
Right? It's more of a novelty thing when we're working on it. We tend to keep the movements really simple. So in that regard, and this is kind of my template for it, I'd be interested to see what yours is. We want to take a squat, a hinge, and then a push and a pull. And the movements we like to choose for the squat we did Zercher squat because that's what we've been working on.
Cool.
And I I just prefer it over a back squat or anything else these days.
Yep.
Deadlift,
Nice.
right? This is about as simple as it gets. It's always there. Weighted pull-up or chin-up. So pull-up being overhand or chin-up being underhand. And then a weighted dip, which would either be like on a fixed object like bars or rings for depending on what you want to do. Nice. I like that. It kind of covers everything. They're simple movements. You can be training, like we're always training some kind of push-pull hinge squat, right?
Yep.
So even if you're not doing those specific movements, they're always good to check in with because you are working on that thematically.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to know where you're at. For me, I actually boil it back even a bit less because I find that as soon as I usually just focus on like one lower body movement, whether it's a deadlift or a squat or a pistol, whatever it is, and then one upper body strength movement, whether it's a pull or a push. It doesn't mean I'm not training those other movements. I just find, at least this is just me, if I'm working really hard on my overhead press, generally my weighted pull-ups won't go up. You know what I mean? Because I'm putting that attention there. And I actually don't expect them to. I found that like a little bit unreasonable. I mean, it's a happy surprise if you get it. But if I'm just saying to myself, right, I really just want to be able to, I don't know, press my body weight or 0.75 of body weight overhead strict with a barbell, that's what I'll pay attention to. And then maybe the other movement is a deadlift or the other movement is a squat. And I will definitely have a look at the other ones, but I usually just keep one upper body, one lower body focus. That's just keeps it simpler in my mind, so I get less disappointed.
And I guess it makes sense too, given that you're testing more regularly.
Yeah.
Then you can kind of just fuck around with one or two because you're going through them more frequently, aren't you?
Yeah. Also, I experiment and I fuck around. I'm just like, you know me.
Not that guy, pal. JT is that guy.
You're like, what the fuck's that guy doing? Why is he trying to lift the squat rack?
Yeah, why is he holding a 20 kilo plate between his teeth?
It's going jaw strength, baby. So, I mean, it's sometimes I set myself little projects because I get bored.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying this.
No, and that's the difference in our approach, right? Like, I don't do it very often because I don't need to. Like, I kind of just, I'm happy to just come in and do the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas you found that you like that excites you and keeps you motivated. Yeah. So it's like, cool, you find what works.
And then also once you've reached a goal, maybe that's enough. And you're like, okay, well, I don't need to pursue that as much. And that then frees your mind up to go in a different direction.
So next point, and so for my format of choosing those kind of 4 categories of movement, I would do it over a week.
Okay.
I would test over. So on Monday, we just did squat. Today, we did the pull-up and the dip. And I'll be honest, by the time we got to the dip, we're like, these dips feel like shit.
Cool.
Because, we'd spent like 30 minutes on pull-ups. So, arguably that could have been a separate day as well. And then on Friday, we'll probably do deadlift. I don't know. I may not. I don't really give a fuck.
For me, I give a day. Like for me, it's like, I'm just coming in here to do this thing.
One exercise per day?
One move.
Yeah, right on.
And just try and make it like
everything.
Channel the, by the beard of Zeus, just channel the strength of the Titans and try and imagine myself being stronger than I am. But yeah.
And so, okay, here's the piece that I think is important, and I'm interested to hear your take on this.
Do you find you get thirsty at training? I do. I do all the time. I'm a sweaty human and I need to hydrate. Now, the biggest problem is by the time you're thirsty, it's a little bit late. You need to hydrate. And that's why we got Sodi. Sodi is sponsoring the show. We've got all the colors of the rainbow. Great flavors here. We've got salty citrus, salty pineapple, salty berry, and my favorite, salty grapefruit. And they will be releasing 2 new mystery flavors soon. So why do we need this? It's going to prevent our muscle cramps. It's going to help our energy delivery. And it's also going to mean you're less tired, which is an advantage when you're training. If you want to maximize your jiu-jitsu and feel good when you're rolling, you need to get Sodi. And when you purchase, enter the code bulletproof20 at checkout for 20% off. Oh yeah.
When you're moving, like when you're testing your limits of like strength, flexibility, coordination, anything, there is going to be a drop off in quality, right? The repetition is not going to look as good as your like 8 rep warm up set. So we have to accept that to a degree. But to a degree, because what we do see, and I saw this morning, when we're testing, there's a couple of things that will happen. One, yes, the repetition will start to look a bit shittier, right? Because there's like, we're working way harder. But also, we'll see a reduction in range of motion. So as an example, with dip, Dilch went for something quite heavy. He'd, done real good. I think he'd gotten up to 32 kilos on a weighted ring dip.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I want to have a crack at 40 or whatever it was. And I was filming it, and he came up and he's like, fuck yeah. And I was like, wait, let me just check that on the camera, because I wasn't really paying attention to and I looked and I'm like, nah, bro, that was like a third of a rep.
No rep.
No rep, right? And then it brought up the discussion of like, well, how much like what's acceptable, right? And yeah, you're probably not going to go, like if you've got a good deep dip, you're probably not going to hit that when you're testing your max, right? But you still have to go to we can only accept a certain amount. And so I was trying to think about this before the show, and I'm like, I think it's 80-20 for me. I think I'm prepared to accept a 20% reduction, right? A 20% reduction in range of motion and quality at max. But if it's any more than 20%, that's a no rep.
I'm going to remember this for later when Joe is critiquing my video.
Do it. No, but you're doing 20% of a rep. That's an 80% reduction.
I always post, if I post a squat video, if it's not like A to G flush, Joe's like, no rep.
Well, the first thing I'm looking for is hips below knee crease. Hips above, I'm like, bruh.
Bro, it's my ass is huge. My hamstrings and calves are huge.
I got an ass on me too, bro.
You think I'm not low enough? It's there, bro. No, I agree. I mean, look, you got to...
But it's hard, right? For the person who's doing it,
you don't know.
They're just in the fight.
You're just trying to give it everything you got.
Yeah, and it's real funny too, right? Like this happens in testing, like over the years in the gym. Raylene's there, and Raylene's like, come on, Dilch, come on. And like, she's like, yeah. And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's not a... And Raylene's like, what? Like, give it to him. Like, that's our boy. Like, let him have the rep. And I'm like, my heart wants to give it to him, but the coach in me says not good enough.
No,
and it's like you gotta set a standard around that. So here's the thing. The caveat on that is if you have shitty range of motion, like if your dips, right, 90-degree elbow at the very bottom, then I want 100% range of motion from you.
Sure.
But if you've got quality dips where you're coming down and your shoulder's almost touching the hand or whatever you're dipping on, then, okay, 20% reduction, I'll accept.
Yes, Joe is a bit of a taskmaster when it comes to this. He does hold the standard. And I think it's good because, I mean, you're only as good as the measuring stick you go by, right? Like, so I think as long as it's not unsafe, that's the key. Like, I think where technique breakdown can be a problem, like I witnessed this the other day, which was unsettling. It was a young man's first time training with a particular trainer. I witnessed it. He had the guy go to max on his first day.
Yeah, I'm going to win this guy over.
And he even got him on the smelling salts for deadlift.
And it was powerlifting coach?
Yeah, it was the grossest deadlift.
Ugh.
It was like spine rounding, just hitching, like pulling it up on the thighs, and then big, super hyper extension limbo style. And everyone's cheering and going off. And like, he did put a little bit of weight on the buck. He's a pretty slim young man. And he's like, there you go. That's just on your first session with me. Imagine what you can do in 6 months. And I'm like, bro, he's going to have a herniated disc in every other part of his spine, dude. And look, don't get me wrong. I think there's huge value to pushing yourself and feeling good about having tested yourself. I think it's great. Not if that means you are then less strong thereafter, like it's got to be in the name of improvement. So I think it's a test. It's not a performance. No, it doesn't have to be a show. And I really, as much as I psych myself up for getting better, actually the whole cheering and 100 dudes stand around screaming, and for me, I find it very kind of gross in a way, because at the end of the day, you have to feel the feedback from your body. And all this noise and all this shit on the outside is distracting. And I'll even do this during a workout. If I'm trying to hit certain numbers with a weight and it's feeling slower, or my body's in pain in ways I'm not used to, that's feedback. I'm like, maybe I don't got this today. And I've tuned into that more, and as a result, have subsequently been not injured from lifting and gotten stronger. So I think it's really important to actually get the feedback from your body as well when you're testing.
Yeah, it's a great tip. And I think like certain people have the right, like if you are an elite lifter, you're just an elite gym goer, you're well practiced, you know your body well. You got
5 to 10 years in the tank.
Yeah, then people can stand around you and yell at you, and you can just let it rip. Like, you've earned that right. But if you're like a 17-year-old kid who's been lifting for 18 months and you're in the gym with all your buddies, and it's like those videos you see where it's like high school kids and everyone, and you're like, man, like there's a price to be paid for what that person's putting their body through, and you're not going to pay it right now.
No.
Which is, I think, why it hurts to see a bit.
Yeah, and it's more just that the hardest thing to appreciate, well, the thing is, I'm stronger now than I've ever been. I'm 41 years old. I would have thought I would have been stronger when I was 30. But it's all these accumulated lessons and everything else that comes with it, and knowing what works for you. But it's also that it's really important to know yourself. And part of testing is knowing where you're at right now. And that's really good. And it will inform where you go next. So I think it's super important to not get caught up in the idea of what everyone else thinks. This is just feedback for you.
Yeah, spot on. It's a check-in process. There it is. That's the kind of guidelines around strength testing.
Awesome. I think it's really important, folks. I think factoring it in at semi-regular intervals, I would say, like twice a year, or if you're training a lot, maybe quarterly, but it's definitely something worth doing so you know where you're at.
Boss.
Yo.